Okay. So uh, basically, I need to send you few things that is required to access the cloud-based HPC setup. Okay. So one thing is the private key, which is installed in the PuTTY or the SSH client, and from there, uh, that is like the authentication key, the way you use username and password. Here, you are not asked password, but that key itself will be treated as the password. So it is very important that you keep that key at a secured place, and you should not lose that key to somebody else. It's like losing the password to somebody else, right?
Sure.
So,
Yes.
so I am sending that key to you in the email.
Okay.
So while while I share the key, can you did you get a chance to identify your resource requirement, the CPU memory for the your job?
So at the moment, the system I'm using,
Mm,
uh, it is Windows system
mm,
with, and the memory that I'm having is around 8 GB.
mm.
So I'll prefer at least 8 GB of memory because the code that I'm running right now takes
Mm.
me hours. So
Sure. And have you seen in the task manager how much is the memory consumption and how much is the CPU consumption? Did you get a
mm,
chance to see that?
I haven't. Shall I run the code and check it?
Uh, yeah. See, anyway, I mean, what we are offering is minimum 128 GB memory. So that is far more than 8 GB actually. So,
Yeah.
right. So, just yes. Okay.
At the moment, it is using around uh, 150 megabytes of memory, around
Only.
33% the CPU.
Only.
Yeah.
Okay. So then the problem, anyway, will so it doesn't seems to be needing lot of memory.
So we can, if needed, then we can uh, improve the memory later on. Right?
No, it's already given as 128 GB. So that okay. So Girish, I'm explaining you the setup for that moment. So I shared my screen, one of the email that I sent. Can you see the email
Uh,
screen?
let me I got one email in which you have attached the SSH key.
Right, exactly. So so just download it and keep it, and then we will see how to use that. But before that, can you see a screen that I shared? Shared one screen in the meeting.
Mm, no, I cannot see.
You cannot see anything.
Just the last mail. So the mail before this SSH key I got uh, was
No, no,
your
not the
joining mail.
email. not the email, the meeting page.
Yeah,
Can you
yeah, yeah,
open
yeah.
the,
Sure. Yeah. Yes, 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 yes.
yeah. So do you see one page in that meeting
Yes,
that I shared?
yes,
Okay, so it says, I'm highlighting this line, Cloud HPC cluster includes. Can you see this?
yes, sir.
Right? So have you used HPC cluster until now?
No.
No. Okay. So typically HPC cluster has, uh, I mean, I recommend you to see how the HPC cluster looks like. So it has one master node, and master node is basically a controller node, and then multiple computation nodes will be there. Okay. So,
Okay.
so on the master node, you can connect, okay, through SSH, and then you can say something like, I want to do this particular operation on the compute node, or I want to run, say, Python. So eventually your application runs on any of these computation machines.
Okay.
Okay, and then on the computation machines uh, you can run the things, uh, and on the computation machines you can run the things, and then you can get the results. So this is the way it works. So you will not be running your problem on the one machine, but it will be allocated, the machine will be allocated to you at the runtime, because the way HPC cluster works is that there are a pool of machines, and you get any of the machine allocated out of that to do your jobs.
Okay.
Okay, so n- now I'm sharing my screen again.
Mhm.
Okay, you can see here the master node has public IP address of this 104.2.1.4.
Yes.
Yeah, so this
Yes.
is the IP you will enter in the PuTTY,
Okay.
right? And in the SSH, now this is a different way. So when you used to connect the PuTTY, you will just say open, and then you will enter the username password. But here you have to go to this connection SSH and click on auth, this auth.
Oh.
Okay, and here you have
How to open this dialog box? The putty
this
dialog
dialog
box.
box is on the left hand side. When you open the PuTTY on the left hand side, you will see these options: session, terminal, window, connection. So in the
Well,
connection you have, uh,
the putty dialog box.
this PuTTY, you
Yeah.
installed PuTTY, right, on your machine?
Uh, mm, I'm downloading it.
Yeah, okay. So once you install the PuTTY, then you can search the PuTTY, and whenever you open the PuTTY, it will show this dialog box like this.
Okay.
So this is the basic. Whenever you open the PuTTY, this will be the first window that you will see.
Okay.
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 So this is the first window you see, and then in the host name you have to put this IP address.
Okay.
That is we shared with you. I will share with you. I'll forward this email to you also. Okay. So this IP address you will select, and after this you have to go to the connection SSH, and inside auth, select this auth, and in the browse button you can
Yes, yes.
select the your private key that I sent you just recently. So this is a
Okay.
private key that you have to select and say click open. Okay.
Okay.
So once you select open, you will be asked login as. So here your username is Yash.
Okay.
So once you enter Yash, this is the machine that you receive and this is the login that you get for this machine.
Okay.
Okay. So now this is the machine that we connected is the master node. So this is the machine that we connected.
Okay.
Okay. I think MS Paint. So how actually it works is there is one master node. So this is a master node. Master node means master machine. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, and then there will be many machines which are computation machines. Computation means whatever you are running that you can run on these machines.
Okay.
So, so there are many computation machines. Okay, these are like compute
Yes.
one, compute two, computer. These are very big high-end machines. The master is generally not big. It is just a master machine which is controlling all these machines.
Okay.
Okay. Now what you do is connect, you connect to this machine. I mean, you as an individual, you connect to this machine, and then right now this putty session is basically we connected to this master machine, right? And through master,
Yes.
you can actually connect to any of these machines.
Okay.
So any of these machines can be connected. Okay. So so there is a procedure to connect any of these machines. For example, you have a group of users or group of students or group of scientists. So suppose you select one machine and another person selects is sitting somewhere else and he doesn't know whether you have selected this machine. And what if that another person also selects the same machine, right? So there is a
Yes.
chance of conflict. So for that reason, what is done is that this master machine has a scheduler. Scheduler means a job scheduler. So it will allocate the resources for each user. So there is a software inside master node which will allocate the required machines or the computation resources based on the requirement that you as an end user will put forward. For example, you
Oh,
want say uh, 8 CPUs and 100 GB memory, whereas another user comes and he wants say 50 GPUs, 50 CPUs or the CPUs and then uh, another 100 GB memory, whatever. I mean, there will be some resources that you will request to the master, and accordingly, master will select any of these machines and allocate to you. So that software will decide that. So you have to always use that software to connect to any of the machines.
okay.
Okay. So the software is called as is a scheduler, and that scheduler that we have installed is Slum scheduler. Can
Okay.
you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
This paint that I have opened.
Yes.
Okay, so in the master, you have a Slum scheduler installed. So what I recommend you to actually understand how the Slum scheduler works.
Okay.
Okay, so you can go to Google and just say Slum basic tutorial, and then you can see how it works.
Okay.
Okay, because I mean the HPC always works with the scheduler. So Slum is one type of one of the schedulers, many schedulers, and then you use that scheduler to submit your problems or to start your application, and then it will automatically allocate you the best suitable machine, and then you will start working on that machine.
Okay.
So you got that right?
Yes.
Okay. So now what we did, we connected to this scheduler, this master machine, right? And
Yes.
now I asked you actually to provide us the software that you need installed on the machine, right? So can you send
Yes.
that list and the version of the softwares that will be required?
Sure.
Okay,
I'll-
so once you do that, uh, then we will help you understand like how to run those softwares here. Okay.
Okay.
So now there is one more thing. I'm again opening the email. So you understand the concept of the master node. Node means machine.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So now what we have done is that there are two types of computation node. Two types of computation node means these are the computation machines or your applications will be running on these machines, right? So
Yes.
what we did,
Yes.
we have created two types of uh, machines here. So for example, say this is one type of machine and then say this is another type of machine. Okay, so because every application has a different requirement, so we created two types of machines here. Okay,
Okay.
so you have to choose which type of machines you will need, either this type or this type.
Okay.
Okay, so
What's the difference?
yeah, so I'll explain that different. But once you tell the scheduler that I need a X type of machine, then he will only select one of these things. Suppose I want orange type of machine, then he will select only one of these things. If you say I need a blue type of machine, then he will select any one of these.
Okay.
Okay, so the types that we created are two. This say for example, first type is HPC type. Okay, do you see this HPC?
Yes.
And then there is another type which we call it as a HTC type. Okay, I mean the HPC long form is a high performance computing, whereas HTC is the high throughput computing. I mean, you may not need to understand law. I mean, what is the different? What are these specifically mean for? But HPC machines actually are where these machines uh, has a specific configuration. In our case, the machine has configuration like each machine is 60 CPU cores. So each machine has 60 CPUs. Okay,
Yes.
in the HPC thing, and I think it has about 256 GB RAM. Each of these machine has that. Hello,
Oh, yes. Yes.
am I audible? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
You're on.
And on the HTC, it is 8 core and 128 GB RAM machine. Okay, each
Okay.
machine is of this configuration. So the first one is 60 core, the second one is 8 core, and then these are the things. So you can suppose you want to run a problem which is less than 8 core and less than 128 GB, then you can select these type of machines. And if you
Okay.
need a problem which needs to be more than 8 cores, then you can select this type of machines.
Okay.
There is another value in the HPC is that you can go even beyond 60 cores. What
Oh,
I mean here is that there is a protocol or the I mean, a tool called MPI. Have you used MPI earlier?
no.
No. So MPI is a tool where two machines can come together to solve your problem.
It's
Okay,
like
so
parallel programming.
yeah, it's a parallel programming. Exactly. So with this particular case, suppose you want 120 cores CPUs, then you can do with this. You join these two machines together. I mean, you don't need to join. You just need to tell scheduler that I am going to run this particular program with 120 cores. Then it will automatically assign you these two machines.
Okay.
Okay. Even here they can assign, like suppose you say I need 16 cores and you say that I need HTC type of machines and I want to run 16 cores, then also it can combine these two machines. Uh, but there is a specific difference between joining these two machines versus joining these two machines. So the difference is that when you say I need to run 120 cores on this HPC, the the infrastructure is built that you will not feel like you are running in two different machines. So they are connecting with very high bandwidth network. So the bandwidth is about 100 Gbps is the bandwidth between these two machines. Whereas in
Oh,
these blue machines or the HTC machines, the bandwidth is only few Gbps, and also it is supporting a special protocol which is required for very high performance parallel processing. So if you are definitely going beyond 60 cores, we recommend you to use this. And if you are not going say beyond 8 cores, then you can use these machines. So that is the thing. Or
okay.
beyond 8 cores, generally we will recommend you to do this machine. Any
Yes,
questions until
okay.
now?
It's no.
Yeah, it's going well. Okay.
I have
So
installed Putty, by the way.
okay, okay. So now the same procedure that I described. Anyway, I'm going to share with you this recorded session. You can try out again later on, right?
Okay.
So one more thing here is that this is a generic setup. It can be in your TIFR, HPC labs, and you know you are going to run this in the cloud, right?
Yes.
So in the uh, cloud model is always pay as you go model. So for example, suppose you use 60 this particular machine, say this first orange machine for say 10 hours, then you will be paying for 10 hours.
Okay.
You means your institute is going to pay for 10 hours. I mean, TIFR is going to pay for that 10 hours or whatever. So similarly, if you run this particular machine, then your institute will be paying for that accordingly. So, so it's always the pay as you go model. So pay as you go model means you can relate it to the Ola Uber versus buying a car, right?
Yes.
And then in Ola, Uber, there are different types of cars available or the cabs available. So they, some are big ones, luxury ones, some are the small ones and all. And accordingly, they charge the money per kilometer. Here, they charge the money per hour based on the type of machine you select.
Okay.
So of course you can understand like the 60 core machines will be charged higher than the 8 core machine, right?
Yes. Yes.
So that's why whenever you're selecting a machine, you um, consider these aspects, which machine to be selected. So for example, suppose you are going to run say on 12 cores or 12 CPUs, right? So then
Yes.
whether I should select this machine or this machine, or these two machines together. So you have to take an intelligent decision. So for example, if I select this orange one for to run a problem on 12 cores, then what is going to happen is that the machine is of 60 cores. So you will be allocated 60 core machine. So the your institute is built for the 60 cores, but you are actually using only 12 cores out of that, right?
Yes.
Now again, I mean, you can also identify the benefit of going from say 8 core to 12 core. If there is a significant benefit in your productivity, then you should go from 8 core to 12 core. Otherwise, you stick to 8 core, right? Because
Yes, sure.
you will not be spinning the second machine actually, starting the second machine. So you can take that decision, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So that is one aspect here. So you understood the HPC type versus the HTC type machine. So these
Yes.
details we have sent you, you might have received that, right?
Yes. Yes.
So now let's go to the putty that I connected. So this is the master node that I connected to. Hmm?
Yes. Yes.
So now you are familiar with Linux, somewhat familiar
Yes.
with. So
Yes.
what we did is that there is one location called CDMNT exports data. So this is a directory where all the important data or the files that is required to you are kept in this folder.
Okay.
So if you see here also in the point 2 in the email, we mentioned that there is a 1 TB storage attached here, MNT exports data.
Yes.
So this folder, and in this folder you can see there are many directories,
Yes.
right? Now, similarly, you have your directory. This yes directory is for you.
Okay.
So similarly, other users have directory like Nabendu has directory, Sindhu has a directory. Okay.
Okay.
So uh, just a second, I am holding on. Just a second.
Sure.
Yeah, sorry, yes, I was
Yes.
in call. Uh, okay, so you are seeing this right now.
Yes.
Okay, so here let's go from each through each directory. Mhm.
Okay.
By the way, do you run Ngen IC and pgen IC and all those library, I mean utilities?
No.
No. Okay, so mostly you'll be working on Python, right?
Yes.
Okay. So then I don't know which of these will be more applicable to you. Basically, uh, so in anyway, I will explain everything. Then let's go to the your
Yes.
specific thing because I'm recording the session so that it will be applicable to many people.
Sure.
Okay. So in the first directory is binaries, where all the binaries are kept. It's just whatever the installed in this system are kept. All these uh, fast FFTW, fast transform, GSL is the scientific library, HDF5, the OpenMPI. All these are the binaries which are installed in this software, which are the physics related or the theoretical physics team are going to utilize. So those are all the libraries are kept here that you will be using. So it's just installer files. Okay, this is not actually you need to install or anything. It's already installed, but they are kept here, and you can keep whatever data that you will be the binaries or the setup files that you can keep it here so that later on you can refer those things. So
Yes.
this is the binaries. Then the second folder is this install folder. So install folder or the directory is where everything is installed. Okay, so all
Okay.
these things, FFTW, GSL, HDF5, OpenMBI, all these things are specific for the theoretical physics
Good.
use cases. Okay, so that's why we
Yes.
installed it everything here in this location. Then uh, every user has their own directories created. So for example, this is the Girish directory, this is Nabendu's directory, this is Sindhu's directory, and this is your directory, Yash. So most of
Yes.
the time you will be working in the Yash directory. Okay,
Okay.
so I will say go to Yash, and here I will be working on, you will be working on.
Okay.
So here you will be creating your data and all. Now remember that this is a master node, right? You connected to the master node, and within master node you have a directory called Yash.
Yes.
But interestingly, same directory and at the same directory location, you, all the other machines can also see this data. So all these machines, the computation machines that you can see here, can also
Yes.
see the data uh, that is kept in this location that I shared,
Master.
master node. So everybody can see that.
Yes.
So whatever you do here, uh, that data can be seen everywhere. So that's why when suppose today you get one particular machine, and even if tomorrow you get another machine, still it works because
Yes.
your data is still same.
Yes. Yes.
So this is the location you have your own whole data is.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So any questions until now?
Mm.
No. Okay.
Mm.
So now there are some applications which has a dependency on some of the libraries that I showed here, like this in the install. These are the libraries that we installed. These are the libraries FFTW, GSL, HDF5. So for example, this Ngen IC and P Gadget 3. These are some of the applications that your physics team might be using. So these application needs these other libraries to be used.
Okay.
So now there is a relationship. The applications uses libraries, right? So how
Yes.
to relate those? I mean, the application and the libraries. For example, every libraries has their own version. So for example, if you can see FFTW has two versions here,
Yes. Yes.
2.1.5 and 3.3.8. Now suppose my application needs 2.1.5, then how can I link that my application to this particular library, right? So for
Okay.
that particular reason, you have to set your environment always after you log into the system, this particular system.
Okay.
So to set your environment, you have to first check what all the libraries are available for me. So that available libraries you can check, or they also call it as a modules. So what are the modules
Yes.
available to me? So you can just say module avail. Now, if once I run module avail, I just see these modules, okay, MPI and something, but I don't see this FFTW and all those modules are not there.
Yes.
Okay, so there is a reason for that, because I don't I did not include those modules somewhere. So I let me set that for you. Okay. So you have to run this command actually after you log in to see these modules. But what I did is I configured your bash configuration file itself to include this. So whenever next time you log in, you will not need to worry about this. So for example, whenever suppose I log in again, just assume that I log in again, and then now I give this module avail command. Then can you see more modules here?
Yes.
This new line, and this is the new modules that are available.
Yes. So, in case if I install some third-party module,
Mm-hmm.
so do I have to install it in specifically if it is specifically for my purpose, my program only, then
Mm.
do I have to install it in my specific folder or to the
So
binary folder?
that is a good question. So for example, you think that it's only for your purpose, right? Then you install it
Yes.
inside Yash folder, your directory only, and you will not be able to install here this install folder, because it is only for the administrators can install it here. So
Okay.
if you want anything to be installed here, then you have to work with your I mean our team and Girish to make it install here. But if it is only for you, then you can install within your folder and then you can utilize it.
Sure.
So for example, you can install anything here and then you can link it, and whatever the way you are doing currently in your system, you can do it here.
Okay.
So now, so this is the modules available now, because I added that line in your bash configuration, bash RC file. Now you can see these are the modules available,
Yes.
right? So now these are available modules. So if you want to use any of the models, say for example, I want to use FFTW 2.1, then you have to say module load and then this FFTW 2.1 you have to say. Okay, so what does it means that now whatever I'm going to do within this bash shell, I will be linked, my FFTW, this module is linked to my application.
Okay.
So you can check all the linked modules by running module list. So for example, this module is loaded now and I can use.
Okay.
So there are, this is the modules, the way of working with the models, right?
Mhm.
So now, as I said, that you will be working on something, some other machines eventually, not on this machine. This is just you can relate it to one a load balancer or something like a scheduler to make to take you to the destination that you want, where you want to do your work on. So for that purpose, you need to, as I said, you need to learn the Slum. Slum is the utility that is installed here. So you have to understand how to use the Slum to uh, Slum scheduler to take you to the appropriate machines. So, so whatever the application or any scheduler in the HPC uh, that refers any work as a job, they refer it as a job. So for example, suppose you want to do some running or the you want to run some application. So the scheduler say it is as a job that is given by user 1, or there is another job that is given by user 2, and each job, a single user can also give the multiple jobs together, right? So one application he wants to run on multiple machines at a separate with separate input parameters, that can also be done. So for scheduler, this uh, this uh, this entity of running an application on the HPC cluster or the on the any of the machines is called as a job, and job has its own properties. So the properties are like how many CPUs that you want to use, how many how much memory you want to use, or which specific group you want to use, whether HPC or HTC. So all those are the
Okay.
properties of the jobs, and accordingly the job runs on any of the things.
Okay.
Now job also is, there can be a case where you have see eventually these resources or the machines are finite, they are not infinite, right? So there can
Yeah.
be a case where you request a particular type of machine or the particular type of resource, but that is already occupied by some other job. Again,
Yeah.
you understand, job is an entity which is running which is allocated on the machines, right? Or it's an application that is running on the machine.
Yeah.
So there can be a possibility that you request something and it is not available because of the finite resources.
Mhm.
So in that case, your job, still the scheduler will create your job, but that job will go in the queue state or the pending state. So job
Okay.
also has a property called state. So the
Okay.
state is basically whether your job is running, whether your application is running, or it is still waiting for the machines to be allocated, or so it is called as a pending state or the queued state, or the job can be in the state where it is complete. So your application has run and it completed, then the job will go in the completed state or finished state. So there are various
Okay.
states associated with the jobs, right? So all these things are related to scheduler, Slum scheduler, and that's why I said like you can understand how the Slum scheduler works. And we don't need to go into a lot of details. As a user's perspective, what you need is how to submit a job on the scheduler. That is what, right? Now there are two types of jobs. One is called non-interactive and one is called interactive. So what is the difference between non-interactive versus interactive? The non-interactive job is something like you submit the job and you go away. You just wait. So you gave some command like, okay, run this command, and whenever the command or the application completes that running, you come back and just store the output files in this Yash folder somewhere in the Yash folder. So that is called a non-interactive. You submitted and you left, right? And you will just come
Yes.
back and see whether what is the status, whether it is running. You will just check whether it is running or whether it is finished, and then you can cancel the job if you feel like, okay, I am not getting the proper output. Then you can cancel that non-interactive job, or you can keep it running and you just keep it monitoring whenever you come back, or whenever it is finished you get the data and analyze the data. So that is called as a non-interactive job. In the interactive job, you want to work like you want to say what you will tell the scheduler, okay, this is a job which is interactive. Please allocate me a particular machine, and once a machine is allocated, I will be working on that machine. Like you are going to create new files like edit using editor, or you
Okay.
will be or you will be installing something there, or not installing. Installing is not recommended inside a job. Uh, I mean, even if you install, just assume that it will be installed only for that job. Once your job is finished, that whatever modules or whatever files installed on the that computation machine will not be available to you. So whatever you will be doing as an interactive
Okay.
way, most of the way what you will be doing in the interactive way is to edit some of the files, or you will be doing something like running some of the commands and then check what is happening. Then you will keep there, you will stay there and come back. And it's more of like always the way you are currently doing. This is the interactive way, right? You are seeing something continuously,
Yes, sir.
right? So that is the interactive way. So anything can happen. Like there are some job where you know that it's a complete automation that I have made. I don't need to be there. I will just submit the job, and after that, I can do anything. I don't need to be interacting with uh,
System.
the system or the machine that is allocated. So that is comes in non-interactive. And if you want to go there, you want to edit files, you want to do many things and stay there, then it comes in the interactive,
Okay.
right? So these two jobs you can submit in the job scheduler.
Okay.
Any questions until now?
No.
Okay. So now how to see uh, which nodes are there, for example. How many nodes are there? Which one are occupied? Or what are the status of my jobs, right? So there are many things that you want to monitor, right? So for that, there is a command called scontrol. Scontrol is a slum control. It is for the scheduler. So scontrol is the command through which you can monitor the your jobs or the machines. Okay, so I can say scontrol and I enter, then it goes in this scontrol prompt, and then you can say show jobs, for example. So it says no jobs in the system. So for example, there is no running job right now. So that's why it is saying no jobs in the system. You can also say show nodes. Okay. Show nodes means nodes means the machines or the systems.
Machines.
Yeah. So once you do that, then it will show you a lot of machines. So you can see a lot of things it printed. Did you see this? So for example, I will go
Yes,
to the one of the
HPC and
yeah. So for example, this is a node name HPC. So this is the architecture, and then it will show the details, what is the operating system it has, what is the memory it has. It's in GB, for example, how many
okay.
sockets means CPUs that it has. So this is a 60 CPU machine and about 200 GB of the uh,
Memory.
RAM RAM available there, 220, right? And this is the
Yes.
machine name HPC PG1. And sorry, so you got this, right? Show nodes is showing all the
Yes.
nodes. Now this is one entity called partition, which is same as the group. I said that orange are the HPC and blue are the HTC. Okay.
HT.
Yeah. So this is a partition called HPC partition. So this is of type HPC, this 60 core, right? And similarly, you can see later on there are HTC machines, and this partition is HTC partition,
Yeah.
right? HTC partition. Now
This
again,
one
it
has
has a
16 cores.
yeah, it has a 128 GB RAM, about 128 GB RAM, and it has 16 CPUs, 16 core CPUs basically, right?
Yes.
So these 16 are actually, there is a concept called virtual CPU versus physical CPU. So these 16 are actually virtual CPUs. Physically, there are 8 CPUs. So we recommend to use only 8 out of this. But in this the HPC thing, that whatever 60 cores you are seeing is actually physical CPUs. So you can use up to 60 there. But here you can use maximum 8. I mean, you can go beyond that, but you will not get the good performance beyond 8.
Okay.
Okay. So this is the way you can see the number of nodes and its details. Now again, I briefly said that every job has a state, right? Every job
Yes.
has a state, whether it is pending or queue in the queue, whether it is running, job is running, or it is complete, finished, and everything. So similarly, every node also has a state. Why? Because this machine can be in the shutdown mode, or this machine can be on the start mode, or this machine can be allocated already to some other job, right? So there should be a state associated with the each of the node also, right?
Yes.
So that state is here. So,
I,
so when state is saying idle plus cloud plus power. So this is, I mean, this is a very complex, this is a complex state. Generally in your premises, the say TIFR, if you run the HPC, then the state will generally you will see either idle or it is occupied, something like that. But
okay.
in the cloud deployment, you see more complicated state, and that's why it is showing idle plus cloud plus power.
Okay.
What does it mean is that the machine is in cloud, it is idle, but it is also powered off. It is shut down actually. And why it is showing that? Because as I told you, the billing is based on whether machine is running or not. So currently the machine is not running and it is also idle. So nobody is job is there and it is also idle. So that is
Okay.
why it is idle machine. And you got it right. So
Yes,
cloud and
yes.
fog. So whenever you submit a job on this job, then the state will change from idle. If this particular machine gets allocated, the state will keep on changing.
Okay.
And eventually it will show like allocated, and then it will also show you which job is allocated and what. So it will keep on showing the better way, uh, better description as and when the job starts running. So whenever you you submit a job in the cloud, what is going to happen? This machine will start first, because right now it is stopped. Machine is not running, and that's why billing is not running. But eventually when you submit the job, the state will go from the idle cloud power to say configuring state. So it will start configuring actually for your job, and then after that it will say run allocated means that your job got allocated here. And then you can see the details of jobs also, like whether job is running and all. And then eventually the job will finish and then you come out. So this is the way it works out.
Okay. So the first thing that I have to do is first move to this directory which is being allocated to me, and
Yes.
within that directory I have to create the job.
Yes. You have to install whatever applications or whatever data that you need as an input. So you will be creating that data. So so let me quit from this S control. This is S control is for the Slum scheduler. Yeah. So this is the directory. Here you will create all the input required to run your job, right? And now
Yes.
that is a good question. How can I create a job, right?
Yes.
So for that, you have to write one script to create a job, and then there is a way to submit a job.
Okay.
Okay. So that script is kept. I mean, for a sample, the scripts are kept in this. If you just go back in the data, there is a job
Submit.
submit scripts. So here we kept some sample job submit scripts. So one sample is for the HPC and another sample is for HTC.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So you can copy this script. You cannot edit it here because you may not have permission to edit it here. So you can copy this. Say I want to submit job on say HTC, because my job is 8 cores and I need only HTC machine. I can say like, okay, copy HTC job and run it here in copy it to my folder. So my folder is Yash, for example here. I copied that HTC job here.
Okay.
Okay. And then once you see, sorry, not here. Here you can see the HTC job, and I open that script now, whatever to submit the job. Okay. So this is a
Okay.
typical job submission script in the Slum. Okay. So
Okay.
you can learn this when you study the Slum tutorial.
Okay.
How to, but typically what happens in the script, it's always starts with this, the normal shell script starts with this, like which shell you want to use. So typically you use this, first line will be same. These three lines are starting with hash s batch. Do you see this hash h batch s
Yes.
batch? So this is particularly as I said, every job has their own properties. So here you are giving the properties for the jobs. So for example, one property is a job name. So you are giving job name as a property. Like I want my job name is XYZ. Then this job needs 16 cores, 16 CPUs, for example. Now I want to send this job on the HTC partition or the HTC group, for example. So this is like a property of the job that you have mentioned. So the scheduler will understand with these properties, and then it will send you the job to this using these particular properties.
Okay.
And then, as I explained later on, that your application may have some dependency on the modules.
Yes.
So for that, you need to write these lines, basically this module path, which will give you the module access, and then any modules that you want to load, which are already installed. If you don't want any module, you can just skip this part, module load options.
Okay.
And then even this export allow run as root, and this can be skipped because you will be running not running as root, you will be running at your own user. So these are also parameters. Suppose root submits the job, then you need these parameters, you can skip this one. And the last
Okay.
these lines, MPI run or anything, these are specific to your application. Okay. So suppose your application, and this particular script is mainly for the non-interactive job. Okay. For interactive job, I
Okay.
will explain how to do. So for non-interactive job, you just give the commands that you want to run. And for example, this is the command that I wanted to run, and then that's all. Just give your non-interactive command, and that's all. The job script is ready. This is for the
Okay.
non-interactive. And then once your job script is ready, I will say, see, for example, I don't have many of these parameters. So what I will do is I will not run this particular, because I may not have this input file, but I can just run a simple command, say date. Date is a command, right? That I want to run,
Yes.
and I want to run it. For this command, I just need, say, uh, one core or two cores. You can mention two core, whatever is the CPUs, and I can say the name of this job is uh, check date. So I'm just checking the date of the today's date, and I'm going to run this application on the HTC partition,
Okay.
right? So you did not need this module load and all, and also this, but I'm just keeping it. You can comment it out if you want, like this, so it will not run. Okay.
Okay.
So the S batch parameters has to be written like this. There are many parameters that you can give, and based on that it will run. Okay. So now this is the date command that I am going to run. Now what I
Okay.
will do is that how to submit the job. So S batch is the command to submit the job. So slum batch,
Okay.
SBATCH is the submit job, and then you have to give this command, this script, right? Generally, it is preferable to keep this script as a executable. I made it executable, and now I will run S batch. S batch is the telling the slum scheduler to submit my job, and the job is here, MPI job HTC, this one. Okay, so I am telling the scheduler S batch that this is my job, please submit it. Okay, so let me
Okay.
submit it. So now once I submit it, it says submitted batch job 4. So for job 4 is submitted. Now you need to see what is happening to this job. This is non-interactive. What happened? The job has gone to somewhere. Scheduler is now submitting that job to uh, one of the nodes, preferred nodes. Right? Now you
Yes.
have to see what is
Yes.
happening. So you can see that using again S control thing. So now let me go to S control, and now I will say show job. You can say show jobs, it will show all the jobs which are currently configured or in the date in the some state, or you can say show jobs and then the idea, these four ID also you can give. So for example, in the show jobs, it will show the current jobs. Currently there is only one job, so it is showing your job. Now you can see that the job ID is 4, the same job ID,
Yes.
and the job name is check date. This is the out this is the job that you submitted, right? The job name
Yes.
that we give. And then it is giving a lot of information to you. Now, currently the state, I said the job has these many properties. Along with that, there is a one property called state, and the state is configuring. So configuring, why configuring? Because the node is currently shut down. It is starting the node or the machine, and that's why it is configuring. Once the machine boots up and starts, then the job actually go in the running state.
Okay.
Okay, so now this is the all the inputs that you have, and then um, you can see the one node is going to be
Mm,
allocated, and which node it is going to allocate is this node. You can see the node NIST or the boy bash node. This is the HTC1 node is getting allocated, right?
yes.
So now what you can do, show node, show nodes, and you can write this name HTC1 and show nodes HTC1. So what I'm checking now, what is happening on that node. So now you
Okay.
can see, oh, I earlier the state was idle plus cloud plus power. Now the state
Power.
is showing mixed plus cloud. So it is doing something. It is booting the machine and doing something there, right? Starting the machine.
Yes.
And still it will take a lot of time. I mean, obviously for the date command, you will not do this whole process. Generally, you will do this for the long running jobs, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
this is the way to explain how the things are running.
Yes.
Show jobs. Again, I will keep on show jobs, and it will show, or show jobs 4, I can say that it will show the only 4 number job. So it is still configuring. Okay, so eventually
Yes.
it will run the job, and your uh, output is going to come here. You can see that slum hyphen, whatever the output is going to be, that will come here, this directory, std out. So in your S
Okay.
directory, there will be a new file, slum hyphen 4 dot output file will get created, and you will see the output there. You can also create a script where you can redirect your output a specific file. So then automatically that file will get the output instead of this, right? So because
Okay. Yes.
we did not give the output file name, that's why it is coming here.
Mm,
Okay. So now I will quit, and I will just I can go now to my other works, and then we can come back and see whether this particular file actually got written and the output has come up here later on. When actually the machine boots, the job gets submitted, the operation happens of the date, and then the finally file gets generated, and then this. You got this whole thing.
mm. Yes. Yes.
So
Yes. So,
yeah, you have. Huh.
you just mentioned that while submitting the job, I should install any code, so any program or software. So, if I want to use any third-party software, I should first install them within my directory and then export them into my job.
Yes, that is recommended. But if you want, if you think that it is going to be very cumbersome and anything, then you should tell us what is the installation that you required. And that's why I asked earlier that please give us a list of the applications that you want to be installed. See, because these nodes are blank, most of the things are not available on these nodes. These are very, they don't have a lot of things there. So if you say, for example, Python might be there, but if you want a specific things in the Python modules, then we have to configure these node to have that modules. So whenever you submit the job, though every node has that modules available, and then you can utilize that. You got that, right? Otherwise, you
Yes,
have
yes,
to
yes.
and see with Python module again, we need to work out this. See this module load that, for example, in this MPI job HTC. this particular module load, this does not work with the Python. Python has their own management of the modules. Okay, this is more of the C, I mean the compiled modules for the uh, for the processor or the operating system. It is not compiled for the Python. Right. So if you
Okay.
are going to plan the Python modules, then this kind of module load will not work. You need to find out some other way to have similar approach, right? To connect those modules in the runtime or whatever operations you do, you have to do that here there. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, and if it works for you, like installing everything here inside Yash, right? So if you are
Yes.
100% guaranteed that everything is inside Yash, then you can do all the configurations. Like you can write the script in such a way that okay, connect to this module like this and this. You can write those commands and eventually it will work out. But if you feel like on these particular machines we need at least these things to be installed by default, then we will analyze that it will really required, and if yes, then we will install. Otherwise, you have to manage it through this way.
Okay.
See, because it should not affect the other users if you right
Yes.
that. So you have to take that
And
decision. So let us know like how is your working model will be and what are the applications or the Python modules are required, and based on that we can either install on all the computation machines and then or otherwise you install it on this Yash folder and then you do that.
okay. And
Okay.
my work hours will be calculated after I submit the job, right?
Uh, for the billing purposes,
Yeah, for everything.
yeah, generally it's I mean basically it keeps the data of the billing like um, yeah, after the submission of the job, actually the machine starts and the things happen. Yeah, you're right. As long as you are working here, there is no issue. Like unless you run this S batch command, then there is no issue. Okay, once you run this S batch command, then these machines are going to start. These are expensive machines. This default machine is anyway running. So even if you don't use or use, it is running, right?
Okay.
So only when you use the sbatch command, then new machine starts.
Okay.
Okay. So now this
Okay.
is a non-interactive job. For the interactive job, uh, we have to find a way like sbatch, sorry, slum submit. So you can see that how to submit. So for example, this is a command to run the interactive job. So what it does is that srun is a command. Minus n means I need two nodes for the
Mm,
interactive, but generally you can say one node, and I need how many cores within that node. So you can say I need 8 cores or say 2 cores, and then pty and bash. So once you give this thing, then automatically also give the partition. So let me connect. So let's first see what is happening to that our job. S control show. So if you see now it is completed. What it is showing?
com-
It is completed.
completed.
Yeah, so machine started, the job is complete, and if you see ls, the output file
Yes.
generated slum, right? And if you see the output of that printed, it printed the date,
Yes.
right? So this is the way. Now, because the machine does not stop immediately, it takes some time to wait and then stops that. So suppose I run a interactive job. What it will do is that I can say something like I want one node, and I can say partition, because I want to connect to, there are different partitions, right? HPC, HTC. So I say
Mhm.
HTC. Invalid partition specified. Minus PIT. So now, can you see what command I
Yes,
ran? srun. I need
first
one
and
node.
one
I
node
need a
and HTC.
partition HTC, and I need a bash on that. So if you see, suddenly
Yes,
this 005 became 006. This is a machine
yes,
name.
this machine. So I've shifted with the HTC machine.
Yeah, so you shifted to HTC machine, and now you can start a interactive session here. So you now, this is a HTC machine you are in. So if I need know host name, it has this host name which is different than the master name. Okay, and again you can say s control show nodes HTC. So does it show the IP? No, I don't. Yeah, so but you switch to the different machine actually, right?
Yes.
This is an interactive job. Now, whatever you do here is actually on that computation machine, which is allocated to you based on this command srun. So this is a command srun minus n, this one. Okay. Now in this command also you can give many options, like I want say I will be taking this interactive session for say 1 hour. Just hold on, Nabendu is calling me. So yes, did you get this point? Like you are now interactive session within that, and now you can do
Yes.
anything. Like for example, I am creating a new file, test file dot txt, and I can say this is interactive session in Slum schedule, right?
Yes.
So I did that, and now you can see interestingly, it is same folder, MNT export data, yes. So in the same folder, and if you say ls, you will see that old files which were created on the old machine are also showing here.
Mhm.
And this is a new test file that I created on this new machine with the interactive session.
Yes.
So now suppose I just say quit or exit, then I will come back to the old machine, old session. So for example, quit, I think. Okay, exit. So what I did, I exited and then srun error, because I said exit without 0. If I would have said exit 0, then Slum would have considered okay, they successfully exited. But now what it said, srun error, HTC task exited with error something. But eventually the job, that interactive job got completed. So now s control show jobs. So if you see show jobs, this is a five number
Okay.
job. So this was the interactive job, and job name was bash because we didn't give any name. But if you see, it is failed. Why? Because I
It
put
says
exit
without
and
zero.
without zero, so it said failed. Okay, but eventually for you it doesn't matter because finally I wanted to create one file called test file, which was created, right? So now
Yes.
if I see here, now after exit, you can see I come back to the master machine 5005,
Yes.
right? So now I am not on that
Yes.
machine, and this file is also there. Test file is also there,
Yes.
right? Now, the last thing that I wanted to discuss is that eventually that machine on which you submitted the job or you ran this interactive session will automatically get shut down because of again billing, right?
You, yes.
So it will shut down eventually. So you don't have to worry whether the machine got shut down. It will take say 10, 15, 20 minutes. It has some its own algorithm to shut down that machine. So you can say S control show nodes HTC1. It is idle plus cloud. So it is still running because plus power is not there. So it is still
Yes.
running.
Yes.
But we don't need to worry, it will eventually go. Why it kept running? Because suddenly suppose somebody gives job, again they don't want
John.
to go through this whole process of configuring, booting and all.
Yes.
So it will always be a lazy shutdown. It should not be like a immediate shutdown. Okay.
Yes.
So I think this is the much I wanted to cover. And any questions you have, please send us. And any application that you need, please send us. Okay. I will.
Sure.
Anything questions that you have now?
No, not at the moment.
Okay, good. So yes, let us know, and I will
Okay.
be sharing this session to Nabendu as well as Girish, and let that same session be shared across others. Okay.
Okay. Can you share this with me as well?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yes. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. So I'll mail you the requirements that I need.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.